Who gives a lead report? How many leads did I bring in? Great. Who gives website traffic? How many eyeballs I got to the website? Amazing. Who gives a report about conversions? How many of those leads are talking to sales? Great. Good stuff. Who gives revenue attribution reports? Anybody? All right. Good. We're going to talk about that today. But before I begin, I want to share a little story with you. So yesterday I was at the gym. It was my 5th time, even though I'm paying for this gym since May. Anybody donating money to the gym? Great. So it was my 3rd day, I must admit, consecutively. So I'm feeling all good, pumped up, just finished my weights, and I'm getting ready to do my plank position. I am actually in my 2nd plank, 30 seconds, don't get excited, cannot do a minute yet. So 30-second plank, I'm in it. And suddenly this thought came into my head. What was the thought that came into my head? It was literally that it takes 10,000 hours to actually become perfect in something. I'm in the gym. I'm like, I have to spend 10,000 hours in here. Immediately, I felt a pain in my back and I fell. 7 seconds before holding my plank, I fell. But then I left the gym right after, of course, because I am totally humiliated now. And I thought to myself, Resa, you may not be perfect and want to spend 10,000 hours in the gym, but you have spent 10,000 hours doing something else. And this is what I have the privilege of speaking with you about today. Before my life in Hubspot, I actually owned an agency. I owned an agency back in Israel because I lived there for the last 15 years. Don't get excited, this is not an Israeli accent. I was there because I got married to an Israeli and moved there from Trinidad and Tobago, so that's the accent. But while there, I built my agency and I became a Hubspot partner. Now, in the beginning, when you have an agency, I started, of course, doing digital marketing strategy like Suzanne was speaking about. But eventually, like Mr. What's your name? Philip. What Philip says, after I'm billing my hours to clients and hoping to get my income in my bank, everybody had a problem, right? They didn't want to pay for you. They didn't get results. What did you do this month? And they had all these questions. So I decided to pivot. I decided to start my engagement with prospects by doing 2 things differently. One, I will never ever sign a contract without speaking to the CEO. And 2, I would always ask him a question like, what reports do you actually want? What do you want to get out of the system? Remember, I'm implementing HubSpot. So the goal of any company is not just to have HubSpot and pay HubSpot thousands of dollars every month. They're actually buying this system for some specific reason. So I wanted to understand, why did you invest in HubSpot? What did you want out of this system and what were you not getting before? Inevitably, every single question, every single time, the CEO would respond, I need better reports. I need to understand what my marketing team is doing. So today, I'm going to share with you what were the top 3 reports that those CEOs generally asked for. But more importantly, I'm also going to add 2 more, which will help you marketers look good in those CEOs' eyes, okay? So we're going to go through 3 things today in my session. First, I'm going to talk to you about 5 reasons to put together marketing reports. So in case you have any doubt about why you're creating these reports, we would look at that. Then I will go into the 5 metrics, not just reports, but the specific metrics that you need to actually show your CEO that you are actually contributing to his company. And within that, I will explain to you how to create them. And the last thing, because you're here for information, I am going to give you a lot of resources and templates that you can go back with and actually use those templates to build your reports to your clients or to your CEOs. So why do you actually put together a marketing report? What was your goal for putting together a marketing report? Those of you who did leads, what's your name? Caroline, tell me, why did you actually put together this marketing report every single month? All right.
Direct. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so we're a lead gen business, so it's kind of one of our key metrics, along with conversion from web traffic, and yeah, it feeds into our remarketing, our overall strategies.
But what were you trying to get out of it? Did you want to get more budget from the customer? Did you want to get more budget from your CEO? What was like when you put it?
Well, no, I mean, what I think what I use it for, I'm the marketing manager, is I break down um, the demographics of the leads, then discuss with sales which ones were converting, which are higher value, so that then that affects our feeds back into our strategy over who to target, where to target, which ones are most valuable. So that's kind of, whenever we look at lead reports, that's what we're breaking down.
Amazing. So Caroline, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what Caroline is basically saying, yes, these are all the reasons she's trying to build the report. But generally, when you're building a report for as a marketing team, for your CEO or for your clients, if you're an agency, there are really a couple things, and you'd notice that throughout my presentation, I have gibberish on my slides. It's simply because I want your input. So at the end of this, I'm going to change it, and whatever you give me as a presentation, I'm going to add it to the slides and send it to you. So it's purposely there to give your input in it, okay? But at the end of the day, what you're really trying to do is make sure you have justified marketing expenses. Did you spend that money well, and how did you spend it? You want to make sure that from your report you can get more marketing budget. So if you did a good report this month, or did you have good results, could you ask for extra $5,000 for next month? Another reason for putting together that report is really understanding which marketing channels you should work on so you can get focus on them. So some of you, we just learned from Suzanne and Ben about the different channels you work on. Maybe LinkedIn ads work better than Facebook ads. So now you know which channels really to put your money in. You may also want to look at other resources of how to allocate your budget for marketing. So you may want to allocate your marketing for conference attendance instead of just PPC ads. You may want to allocate your budget for doing more email marketing, or best of all, investing in another platform like Hubspot, or getting into some other marketing automation tool. And then, of course, your reports are supposed to help you find holes in your strategy. Suzanne gave you a lovely whole plan of how to build that digital marketing strategy. Does anybody remember? What were the 5 stages? Suzanne, you need to come back and do your speech. They missed it. So it started with message, audience, target, and nurture. Right. Very good, Suzanne. They listened. Good job. So the point is, these are actually things that help you build your strategy. But at the end of it, you need to wrap that up with those reports. And now we're going to get into the 5 metrics you should have after you've built such an amazing strategy. I want you to really understand that when you are thinking about building the reports, you have to think about, as Suzanne mentioned, your audience, okay? If you think you're bored listening to me right now, imagine what your CEO, your client, is actually feeling when you deliver a 15-page report. Usually, they don't have the bandwidth, the time, or the understanding to go through all of those metrics you are presenting. So you have to remember that your report should tell a story, and it should be a simple story. And what everybody cares about is revenue. They want to know how much money did you put in their pockets, okay? One of the things I have learned over the years because in my position as well as an agency owner, I'm not just meeting CEOs, I'm working with the marketing executives and marketing managers. And I've realized over the years there are a couple types of marketing executives, let's call them. There are the marketing professionals who love to come in and start with a new website, right? They're the branding ones, right? They're into the creative stuff. They need to come and build a website. Regardless if that company had a website built 3 months ago, if they took the position, they're going to change it and build a new site. Then there are the marketers who love to plan. They love the strategic part of it. They love to, build the campaign strategy, build the nurture plans. So they're coming more from a digital marketing part and side of the business. But then there are the marketers who understand that I am not just a marketer, but I'm like a sales executive. So I need to actually figure out how do I tie my efforts to the revenue of the company. So the thing you want to understand is that you have to not know the goal. You have to know yourself and you have to know the goal of that company. So if you're a branding marketer who loves to build new websites, love to design new things, you have to understand the goal of the company. If it is like, for example, building more awareness. This is a brand new startup. Nobody knows it exists. So therefore, your design capabilities and your whole idea of building this whole awareness campaign will fit with that type of business. But if you go into a business that just raised a couple $1 million in funding, have been existing for the last 5-7 years, or even a business that's more traditional, people know who they are, they know what they're about, but they're not able to convert those leads, you have to realize that your marketing strategy has to be focused on just that. Building campaigns or building strategic campaigns that will deliver the results to get those companies more leads and more opportunities. So, with the goal in mind, you will soon notice that there are 5 metrics that your boss really wants. Yes, I'm not going to keep you waiting for the end of my presentation, so you can copy this slide right now, right? But these are the metrics your boss wants. One is about leads. They don't care about eyeballs, they care about leads. So the number of visitors to your website is nice to have, but you keep that in the other type of meeting. But the leads you actually bring into the company and to bring into the different assets you're running, this is what they're interested in. The second metric that they really want to see is conversion. And when they talk about conversion, I know I'm from Hubspot and we have this whole lead, MQL, SQL thing going on, but that's not what they're concerned about. They're only concerned about one type of conversion metric. How many people came in, how many people my sales reps talked to, and how many of them actually turn into customers. So you need to show at least those 2 conversion metrics within your report system. The third is about monthly revenue. But again, be careful because you know those salespeople hate you. So you do not try to go in and say, hey, I created all of this revenue for this company. No. The sales reps will come back to you and say, no, this is my hard work. I called up these leads. I did this. You didn't contribute to this. So you have to be able to make sure you can follow which leads you generated and which leads turn into actual customers. So your revenue must be able to target that. The fourth is the customer acquisition cost. Now, this is always tricky because in marketing, how much money do we spend? We do all kinds of things. We hire a freelancer from the Philippines to help us. We hire somebody from Upwork. There's a lot of cost that goes into generating our campaigns. So we can't always come up with a very accurate figure for that. But when you talk about customer acquisition cost, you do want to look on an average, how much are you really spending to acquire that customer? Most companies do not have that ability to measure that. And you do want to give your boss that figure because especially with startups, this is the figure that the investors will ask them for. So you do want to be focused and get that figure to them. And this is the secret sauce, the last one, marketing ROI. Can you say that your ROI is 200% or 150% or even minus 90%? The point is, this specific metric, again, most marketers have a difficulty in actually measuring it because they're not generally always calculating all the aspects of what it needs to measure the marketing ROI. But today I will show you a very, very simple formula that you can use to give an idea of what your ROI is. So when you go to that meeting with the CEO, you can say, hey, do you know I contributed 200% ROI this month? And he'll be like, huh? And then you can show him how it happened and what you actually did to get there. So far, so good? Any questions? Great. So I want to start by leads. Now I'm from Hubspot. I've used Hubspot for the last 10 years. So yes, this is a Hubspot slide, okay? So if you are using Hubspot, you have the ability to actually have a report like this that shows the number of leads. But what is really nice, you don't need HubSpot for this, right? Some of us before HubSpot existed was using Google Analytics. But what is the difference with HubSpot's reports and Google Analytics report? Is simply that Google Analytics will tell you how many people from Germany came to your website and how many people from Berlin in Germany came to your different pages on your website. You will never know that Caroline from Germany came to that specific website, or you'll never know that Jim from France came to your website. HubSpot gives you that exact information in those reports where you have the column that says new contacts. So new contacts are exactly the people that came to your site. If you click on that blue button, you will see the names of the person who came to your site. Again, you want that information because in today's world, you need to understand who it is you're targeting, who it is you're marketing to. So it's not enough to just have, hey, I got 100 people from Germany into my site. Now, the next thing about it is you have to realize you always want to understand what is the breakdown. Your CEOs aren't always interested in this, but it's important for you because, again, as we said earlier, you will know how to actually put your budget in. So if you see the channels that, again, breaking down by source here, you will therefore understand that paid search here gave the most contacts. Now, notice it may not have given the most sessions all the time, right? You have organic search, I think, or in this case, it gave the most sessions too. But the goal is sometimes the channel that brings you the most views don't always give you the most contacts. So you do want to pay attention to the sources and where your best and most contacts are coming from. So again, with Google Analytics combined with HubSpot, you are able to get that type of report so you would know how to put your resources and where to put your effort. So far, so good? Any questions? Does everybody do this kind of report at least? This is the basic one, right? Great. The next thing I want to talk about is about leads per campaign, which is also associated with your leads report. One of the things, again, marketers aren't always mindful of is understanding to measure every single campaign and how many leads you get from those campaigns over a period of time. For example, in my old days of agency life, I had a client who was doing 2 webinars every single month. So 2 webinars every single month is a lot of investment. There were a lot of PPC ads being run against them, a lot of prep, a lot of guest speakers, presentations to organize. Now, the company loved the fact that she was investing so many leads from the webinars because she was actually building these types of reports that showed also which webinar brought in the most leads. But in the second slide, you would see that she was also measuring what was the conversion rates of those webinars. So when we talk about conversion rates from campaigns, we are not just looking, as I said earlier, at how many people came from leads to MQLs, but we want to see specifically how are the sales reps treating those specific leads from the campaigns. So in this specific case, you can see the leads that came in from the webinar campaigns. She can see that 70 of them were being attempting to contact by the sales reps. She can see that they spoke to 22 of them, and she can see that 18 of them turned into customers eventually. So she was able to follow through the exact cycle and the exact touch points of every one of those leads. And that's what your boss wants to know at the end of the day. Are your efforts reaching my sales reps? Or are they just sitting looking pretty in the sky and you just give me the reports for the leads? You always need to tie your efforts into what exactly, how are your efforts actually touching the revenue of that company? And the revenue is begin to be measured by the sales reps. So companies do not want to know that you as a marketing professional are just very good at generating campaigns and building ads, but they want to know more specifically, when you do those efforts, do my sales reps get affected by it? Do they get those leads? Do they talk to those leads? I cannot stress, and I spend time here right now saying this, because this is the downfall of most agencies and most VPs of marketing when I've seen in my career. They aren't able to actually show the full cycle. Marketing professionals often think their job stops by the number of leads they bring in. It doesn't. You have to go through the entire cycle and make sure you can account for the sales rep's time and the sales rep's job within those companies. Okay? Any questions here? Great. Now, this is the other interesting part when I asked earlier about revenue attribution. What's your name? Yes. Jan? Jean, you mentioned you kind of do attribution reports, right? Wait.
Sorry, yes. Because the question was whether we include revenue
Yes.
as part of the metrics. And in most reports we do. So I said, like, not always is what I meant, but mostly we do include revenue as part of the metrics. Yeah.
Great. How do you generally build that report?
So basically, we get deposits. So basically, we measure deposits, and then we measure the revenue that is coming directly from those deposits.
Right.
And we attribute that, and we consider that one of the key metrics for a campaign. So how much new depositing revenue came in.
Amazing. Basically. Good stuff. Anybody else does a revenue generating report? Wow, you see, I'm telling you guys, I'm saving your jobs today, right? Okay, so with the revenue reports, you have to understand how, again, you have to collect the data to build those reports. I am not biased to HubSpot, but it's just the easiest platform, okay? So most platforms generally have some level of helping you get to the revenue parts of the business, like Salesforce. That's what they do. You sell, right? So you are able to collect the revenue in Salesforce and those other systems. But what is sometimes lacking is which channel bought that customer? Which channel actually gave you the opportunity to close that customer? So in HubSpot, there's a report called Deals Won by Source. You can also build that even without HubSpot, because you need to collect, for example, and if you have the time, of course, you can build it in Excel, for instance. But every lead or every real qualified lead that comes in and talks to your sales reps, you need to spend the time collecting that data, because eventually, 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, 2 years even down the road, you will want to be able to track which customer actually lead turned into a customer. So if you are able to track that specific report and that specific metric, your boss is always impressed, because he wants to see again, how did your efforts actually bring money into his business? So you need to know as well which channels are bringing your best customers. So in this report, you see, for example, offline sources brought the most revenue. And offline sources means it's generally coming from sales efforts, okay? It means here in HubSpot's language that Maybe the sales rep picked up the phone and tried to get them. Maybe they found them online on LinkedIn by themselves. They did their own sourcing of those leads. But for the marketing side, you can see organic search was the second most important lead. Now, most companies and most VPs of marketing think I need to start doing PPC ads. They have begun underestimating how important organic search is as well. And this report will clearly show them that even though your most leads may come from paid search, if you remember earlier, the most leads came from paid search, but the most customers, the most revenue came from organic search. So therefore, which channel would you want to invest more in? In this case, it will be organic search, because here you can always consistently prove to the CEO, when I put more effort in SEO, when I hire that SEO expert that I pay $10,000 and you don't want me pay him, he contributes to the most revenue. So this is the importance of this specific report. You must be able to understand that what brings you in the most and most leads does not necessarily bring you the most revenue. And as a marketer, you are tracking revenue. You know, we had a saying a long time ago, we love the vanity metrics. So we love to see how many website visitors we get. We have to get over that. We have to realize that we are now a revenue generating part of the company. That's why there is this new phenomenon about RevOps, and we are being sank into that department, is because we have to let go of what our past aficionados used to be. We used to love those vanity metrics. We cannot be associated to that too tightly anymore. Great. Any questions about monthly revenue? We're good to go? Amazing. So, customer acquisition cost. So, as I said and hinted earlier, this is something that is nice to have, but it proves to your CEO that you're a little bit more elevated than your competitors, okay? So when you decide to hand in your resignation, he may be like, okay, how can I keep you? Now can I pay you more because you gave me better metrics? So these are the things to really impress him. The customer acquisition cost is really calculated by understanding what the total sales are and then dividing that by the marketing expenses and your number of new customers, okay? Now, we all get tripped up because of the marketing expenses. We aren't always tracking that correctly. But you do know how much money you spend on your Facebook ads, your LinkedIn ads. You do know how much you spend on your agencies. And you do know how much you spend on other professionals you may have, like the SEO experts, etc. So my advice is to take those main expenses. You don't have to take your salary as well and all of those different things that would be nice to have, but you don't always have it. So if you don't have all of the extra expenses, at least taking the basics that you're asking for extra budget for and using that as part of the calculation will help the company understand what is the customer acquisition cost of this specific customer. Okay? Now, last but not least is the marketing ROI. As I said, this is like the ice cream in a plate of, what is your favorite dessert? I'm trying not to eat desserts, people. I am like in my gym. Remember, no sugar. So tell me, help me here. What is your favorite dessert? Pie. So you like your whipped cream on your pie? Amazing. So this is the whipped cream on the pie, okay? So whipped cream on the pie says, can I deliver marketing ROI? And marketing ROI is basically trying to prove how much of your consumptions and how much of your marketing, how well did your marketing campaigns perform? So you do have, I have a link here which I'll share with you later on when you get the presentations. But this is a calculator that you can generally use to calculate your ROI very easily. You just have to input specific things, as you said, as you see here in a snapshot, the monthly budget you had for your ads, the expected cost per click, all of these little things. And then you can see what your ROI is. But again, as I mentioned earlier, the goal is to go to those meetings and start off with, guys, I contributed 250% ROI to your efforts this month, to your revenue this month. CEO, Mr. CEO, I contributed 150% ROI. And then he will ask you how. And this is how you go back to the reports that I showed earlier. But this is your wrap up. This is the whipped cream. This is what gets you noticed. This is what gets you staying in the room because you have a specific figure that you can just use as what makes you successful and what makes your efforts rewarding. If you cannot show that, CEOs are always confused. Remember, these most CEOs are not marketers. They have no clue what you do, far less for what HubSpot does. So coming to them with all those fancy stuff bores them. They have no idea where to begin. So you have to make it sweet and simple. And as I try to show you throughout this presentation, keep it stupid simple. So this next session is just telling you a couple of the resources and templates that I have given you. So first you have this marketing report you can download. There's a link here. It will give you all the templates you can use. It's both in Excel, PowerPoint, whatever format you need it in. It's really easy to use. I've used it very well in my agency life. It's always been impressive when I walk into a meeting with those types of reports. You also have the ROI calculator here. Again, you can use this simply by just putting in the figures and you're able to get the different numbers you want. And then this is my cheat sheet. So thank God I'm no longer an agency owner because Suzanne will be my competitor and I could not get into Dublin. So Suzanne, this is my cheat sheet for all agency owners. What I always advise marketers to do is keep just this one-page slide that had priorities, lessons, and questions. So when, they always talked about marketing and sales alignment. Okay, that's overdone. We haven't figured out how to work well with our sales. But this sheet helps you to understand what are the sales top 3 priorities this month, and then make your top 3 priorities align to theirs. You then go back and find out from them next month, what lessons did you learn? What didn't work for you? Which customer was hard? Which channel didn't bring you the best leads? And then you make that your next priority for the month. So this will be also your lessons learned. And then always find time to have open questions with them, of course, right? Because every company has its little nuances. You want to make sure you understand how those companies generally work. So this one pager, trust me, will save your life and change your life in many ways. So use this to really keep aligned with the sales. I did share with you also a one-page marketing report. There are some CEOs who just have no time for you. Some clients are like, I can't meet with you this month, but you should send them something every single month, even if they don't meet with you. So this one-pager report with these 5 metrics makes a difference. So what you want to be able to see in your one-pager report is basically how much of your reach grew from the last month to the next month. How much did you do in website visits? How many new leads you generated? And how many of those leads turned into customers? And the last part is always about how many of those generated were actually customers closed, right? Like meaning close retention, like how many of them actually stayed. So you want to keep measuring those things and keep these 5 metrics as well in your marketing report. This is like a summary of a one-pager. So if you don't have time to do the first template I showed you, you can just keep this and send it to your clients, send it to your CEO every month automatically. I want to leave you with these last few words. I know as marketers, we have so much information. As both Ben and Suzanne showed us, we have tons of things coming at us. But we have to be careful and we have to really understand that not because something is available to you, you have to use it. You need to be smart about what you choose and how you choose to display the information you have. Remember, to be effective, you have to be short and simple. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.